Hutchinson and the state of Kansas have birthed more than one civil rights revolutionary, but Hutchinson is poised to honor one in particular, Chester I. Lewis. After growing up in Hutchinson, Chester went to KU and became the lawyer behind the desegregation of many Kansas institutions. Take a peek at the past and get a preview of the future. Hutchinson's first civil rights memorial and his memorial, Chester I. Lewis Plaza. Here's Jocelyn Woodson to tell his story in Chester I. Lewis, Hometown Hero.
If you were to ask how long I've known Chester Lewis, I would say I've known him my whole life. But being more than 20 years younger than him, I realize that my memory is more the conversations and the memories of my mom and the rest of my family and the community and the respect that we had for him. He was born in 1929, like my mom, and when I asked her about him and the other family members, he was more of a peer, and he was just Chet Lewis, and he became Chester Lewis. And that's something that we think about in a completely different way. Wow. Chester Lewis grew up in a house on Sherman, at the corner of Sherman and Madison, with his father, Chester Lewis, and his mother, Edna, who was a Sunday school teacher to many people in the community. He attended Hutch High, where even in 1943 it wasn't segregated as most schools were in the nation, and Hutchinson didn't have the funds to afford separate schools, so Hutchinson kids were educated together. In this photo, in his sophomore year, in Reno County Museum, Chester is on the left. He had a lifelong love of music, especially jazz. Chester Lewis High School yearbook from 1944 is him smiling there, possibly the shortest boy in the class. He was known for his intellect and his academic accomplishments. Chester graduated from Hutch High in 1945, and he was educated with highly encouraged education from his household, and each of the children graduated from college. His father was highly intellectual, and he's remembered as someone who was always discussing the need for equality and the path toward it. In the 1920s, and then again in the 40s and 50s, the Lewis family published a newspaper for Black Hutchinson residents from their home, and each copy sold for a nickel, and the yearly prescription was $2. Chester's college plans were interrupted by World War II, in which he served, and historians tell us that Black servicemen during that period were treated better in countries where they were stationed than their own, and were denied benefits on their return. When he did return to Kansas, Chet was accepted into KU, graduating with his undergrad in 1951, his law degree in 1953, and this was the version of the Jayhawk that Chester Lewis knew as a student. 2 years after graduating, Chester was a lawyer in Sedgwick County and the chair of the Legal Redress Committee of the Wichita NAACP before stepping up as the chapter president in 1956. He volunteered much of his legal expertise to challenge racial discrimination. Despite his success in legal cases, Chester believed strongly in direct action, and he mentored the NAACP in Wichita youth group, who performed a 3-week sit-in at the lunch counter at Dockham Drug Store until they became the first known in the nation to serve Black people. Chester's refusal to accept second-class citizenship took a personal form when his first child was born. Seeing his newborn segregated from white infants in the nursery, he successfully sued the hospital. Darrell Pope recalls witnessing Chester Lewis in action in the courtroom as multiple recesses were called to check his legal references. By the time the suit was won, the table was full of law books. and the Wichita Fair Housing Act was one of those wins. A good portion of Chester's legal work was dedicated to workers' rights and desegregating police forces, fire departments, Boeing Industries, and a class action suit gaining rights for black train porters as a specially exploited area. In 1960, Chester served on the legal team for Brown versus Board of Education in Topeka, Kansas. This lawsuit, coupled with the bravery of Ruby Bridges, paved the way for black students to attend white schools in towns that could afford them. Chester resigned from the NAACP in 1968 because he felt more direct action should be the focus of the organization, while the NAACP wanted to retain an emphasis on legal procedures. He passed away in 1990. A live jazz band played at his funeral per his request. On November 2019, the Hutchinson City Council unanimously passed an ordinance naming 14 East 1st Street, Chester Lewis Plaza. Attending to the, here it is, it's beautiful. Attending the presentation of the committee was Darrell Pope, Miriam Kahn, Hintz Parsons, DeJada Moore, and Rebecca Yoder-Shetler. Hutchinson Parks Department coordinated with the Chester Lewis Committee to develop the plaza into the first civil rights memorial from the Fox Theater. On July 20th, the mural painting began. This is Brendan Martinez and myself, Jocelyn Woodson, both Hutchinson natives, and we began to capture the spirit of Chester Lewis's lifelong efforts for freedom for black Kansans. You can also engage in the progress of the murals and fundraising for the remaining plaza features on Hutch in Harmony's Facebook page, and make sure to attend the dedication ceremonies as part of the Emancipation celebration that begins at 5 p.m. on July the 30th. Thank you.